on campus. This guy had a couple of interesting policies. Number one, his exams were essay questions. Whatever you'd learned up until that point, he would put up a question on the board, and he used the theories that you'd learned, whatever you knew about the subject, he answered the question. Two, his final exam was 75% of your grade. So all of your efforts really went into preparing for that final exam. And that's exactly what we did, right? We put a lot of time, we put a lot of effort, we walked into that room ready to write down whatever we had in our mind, regurgitate all that we learned, right? So we're both nervous. My buddy, once again, more than me, his hands were shaking as he sat down to take the exam, and then the instructor puts up the question on the board. What does it mean to be courageous? You know, I'm sitting there like the rest of the folks, writing down everything I know, taking a full 2 hours to answer the question, right? But I see my buddy, 5 minutes into the exam, walking down the hall, Chip hands in his exam, and he takes off. So I later find out this is what he wrote. What is it to be courageous? This is to be courageous, period. And funny thing is, he actually got an A on the exam. So that's kind of interesting. It actually exemplifies really what it means to be courageous. Understanding what's being asked of you, evaluating it in your own mind, and somehow coming up with your opinion. Pilar did that last week. She went and delivered a speech about immigration despite what her family told her, despite knowing full well that it would be a controversial subject. Now, it reminds me yet of another story, and that's my oldest brother's. My two brothers escaped Iran back in the early 80s because of their political involvement. They were actually imprisoned. They'd been in demonstrations, anti-government demonstrations against the current government. They escaped Iran and went to Canada, but my oldest brother couldn't quite escape his own convictions. He spent a couple years there, but then he went back to Iran. He fought, and eventually he gave his life to the fight. And I remember thinking about this, thinking how high of a bar he'd set. But he had, once again, not defined what it means to be courageous, but actually exemplified. So, after hearing Pilar, after thinking about all these different stories, I realized, you know, I haven't been taking a stand on a lot of different issues. So, I'm here today to take a stand on a few different issues. First of all, I think a woman should have a choice when it comes to pregnancy. I think that we had the wrong reasons to go to war in Iraq. But I don't think it's the fault of our soldiers. I think it's the fault of decision makers. That means me. Because I could have spoken with my congresswoman. I could have expressed my opinion, told them why we couldn't, shouldn't be going to war. It's all in the past. What can I do now? What I can do now is become more involved, speak with my congresswoman, speak with all of you, make it completely public on what I believe in, so that maybe I can incite at least some sort of conversation, so that we can have a dialogue and actually practice democracy in our country. So I hope that that at least will be the start of being courageous on my part as well. Now, what do you believe in? Do you disagree with what I've said? That's okay. Let's have that conversation. Let's have that dialogue. Why don't you take a stand? Why don't you state exactly what it is that you believe in? Why don't you have courage and state to your politicians, to your fellow Toastmasters, come up here and describe exactly what it is that you have convictions about, that you believe in, that you're willing to take a stand on. So think about that. Think about that particular subject, and maybe you can be as courageous as Pilar was, stand up here and talk about it. Have courage. Madam Toastmaster.